After my run-in with the Russians, I decided it would be best for me to get a change of scenery, away from the darkness of Reevesbury. The only place that could offer such solace was a small town up north called Ravenswood. Ravenswood was a small community covered by rows of pine trees that encircled the town like a shield. It had a population of 436 people. It was mostly a place where people would go to retire, or if you were looking for a nice quiet place to raise your kids. It had a small city center, which was basically a small assortment of stores and offices that encircled the fountain smack dab in the middle of town. If you kept going up north, you would find the residential homes. The homes were mostly fancier log cabins, some of them scattered around the woods, and the rest arranged neatly in a row along a large lake. This lake was called Lake Vernon, named after the third president of New Haven, Simon Vernon, who lived here after his retirement. He was the first and longest-running mayor of the small community. This would be the perfect place for me to slow down and just take in nature. So I borrowed some cash and rented a small little log cabin overlooking the lake. I spent most of my time sitting by the lake and watching wildlife. Once in a while, my neighbors from the left would greet me and strike up a conversation. They were nice people, the Smiths. They were a middle-aged couple who had a son named Roger. They owned a small bakery in town that was seldom empty. I had been around a few times and watched as people bought bread and cakes. When they offered me some of the baked goods, I had to make up some excuse on why I couldn't have any. Being in that shop just made me want to know the sensation of touch, taste, or even smell. My sensors for the most part could pick up anything, but they couldn't sense the fluffiness of freshly baked bread or the smell of muffins in the morning. It sounds crazy, but the little things I couldn't do were the abilities I wished for. After one day of wandering around in the woods, I came home to relax. As I got near the back door, my sensors went up. Someone was in the house. I thought it might have been Operative Cross. I slowly walked through the door and stumbled into the kitchen where I found my intruder. It wasn't Cross. It was her boss, the infamous Essie Obchinowaske. She was in her moth gear and was sipping on some coffee that had been left by the landlord. I won't lie, she kind of scared me. The way she sipped on the coffee and stared straight into my eyes and slightly grinned. The way her arm movements were so fluid and relaxed, it was like staring into the eyes of another android. She took a long sip.
"You weren't having this, right?"
she said as she put the cup on the counter. I ignored her. She then sat on the countertop and looked at me with a smile.
"You've been busy, Mrs. Head,"
she said in a tongue-in-cheek way. I asked her what she meant as I kept my defenses up.
"The distraction you left in Reevesbury was interesting, to say the least,"
she said as she got down from the counter. I tried to deny what had happened in Reevesbury until she raised her hand, signaling for me to stop talking.
"Please don't lie to me, Warhead. I've been monitoring your movements. Before you ask how, I have eyes everywhere, darling. I saw what you did to Creed, and I also saw what you did to the Russians. That amount of extreme violence cannot be tolerated. If I let you paralyze assassins and blow up hideouts there, I have to let everyone do what they want. I just can't do that,"
she said, feigning empathy. I sternly explained to her that I wasn't afraid to go the extra mile for the right reasons, and that no one good was hurt in any of those instances. She snickered to herself.
"There's always people like you, my dear. For years there have been multiple gifted people that came up and decided they were going to be the law. And everyone tells tales of the great superheroes, the gladiators, Iconic Man, Owl Hawk, Mystery Man, and even your creator. All of them are considered gods. But no one ever tells you how many people got hurt before they figure out what they were doing. Innocent people were beaten to a pulp, and buildings were leveled in catastrophic battles, and everyone at the end says they won the battle. The heroes won the battle. They are not heroes. The word is vigilante, Warhead. Vigilantes. This isn't a comic book. People need to hold someone accountable. That's why they all joined up with Moth. Because they eventually came to their senses. Weapons like you need oversight. If you don't, people die. You give these people hope, and then what? What happens when you decide you don't want to do this anymore? You need to think or process that in your system. Running away and finding your happily ever after is bullshit. I'll give you a month to get your affairs in order. Then I expect you to come back to Union City. If you don't, I'll be back with people who aren't as nice as me."
After she had said all of this, she threw the cup into the sink and thanked me. She then walked past me and left. I spent the rest of the day processing all I had been told by her, and I had no answer to her ultimatum. Suddenly my thoughts were interrupted by a scream next door. I quickly ran to the Smith's house and walked through the open door. The family was gathered around the body on the floor. It was their son Roger. Carved on his back were the words, "He is love."